and yet they don't know the pain, the struggle, the heartbreak, the resilience, the passion. In just a minute, you're going to meet Stefanie Schaffer. She is Rutland. She is who we are. She's who all of us are. And I cannot wait to hear her speak. Thank you guys so much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was really great. Thank you very much, Terry and Donald. Nobody should ever let me do this. Sorry. Thank you, Penny. She's always saving me. There we go. I know you're all really eager to hear Stefanie speak, as I am as well, but I'm going to just talk a little bit about this year's theme of strength and resilience. I truly believe there is no better illustration of this throughout the state than Rutland County. There are examples of municipalities in the county working hard to revitalize, re-energize, bolster their economies, like Brandon, Wallingford, Fairhaven, Middletown Springs, Proctor, Pittsford. If we are to succeed as a regional force, we all need to work together, recognize our own strengths, and build on what we have collectively. I'm personally proud to be part of this. Now let's talk about our guest speaker. We have a video to explain Stefanie Schaffer's story, but I want to share why she is a great choice to speak to you all tonight. Our theme tonight is strength and resilience. This is about our community that has seen difficult times, but has found a way to reinvent itself. This is about a community that was faced with a significant substance abuse and crime problem not too many years ago, but it invented Project Vision. It's about a community that wants to support our impactful nonprofits, so now is the capital for community game shows. Dancing with the Rutland Stars, the Newlywed Game, Lip Sync Battle, and the Real Rutland Feud. It raise over $100,000 each year to support those in need in our community. It's about over 40 organizations that have come together to support Come Alive Outside and Rutland Recreation Department to put on Winterfest, a week-long celebration of outdoor activity in February. It's about a record-breaking blood drive, the gift of life. There are so many examples of collaboration for the greater good in this community, and here we have yet another example of encouraging strength and resilience. There have been many things that have impressed me about our strength and resiliency. Here we have one of our own, Stefanie, and her family, who have experienced an incredibly tragic event. No one can fathom what this family has gone through. Yet Stefanie and her family come home to a welcoming community offering love, support, resources, or anything else that they have to offer. We have tapped Stefanie because we want to recognize not only her own incredible strength, but the strength of this community in support of her. I want to talk first about her physical therapist, Kate Moser, and the team at Back on Track. Kate has been so impactful in Stefanie's recovery and continues to be an incredible support. But Kate and her husband, Dennis, are going way beyond. Kate and Dennis have committed to raising over $17,000 for the Heather Abbott Foundation by running the 2020 Boston Marathon for 2 reasons. Specifically to support new and improved prosthesis for Stefanie, but also to prove one of Dennis's doctors wrong. When in his 20s, Dennis was facing his own health challenges, and his doctor said something like, "Oh, he'll be fine. He just probably won't be running a marathon in his 40s," proving him wrong. Yet another example of strength and resilience. Heather Abbott was a victim of the Boston Marathon bombing and has a foundation to support those who are now amputees because of a traumatic injury, just like Stefanie. Unfortunately, prostheses are extremely expensive. Stefanie's will probably be over $30,000 and not covered by insurance. So this act of kindness by both Kate and Dennis will make a huge difference in Stefanie's life. We encourage you all to consider a donation to Kate's efforts, which, by the way, is tax deductible for any business donation. We also need to recognize the significant contributions of Alderman's Automotive Group and the North Country Chevy dealers, and Mark Alderman specifically, who has been instrumental in welcoming Stefanie home and expanding her horizons by providing a vehicle that Stefanie can drive as she finishes her degree at Castleton University. This significant support of Stefanie allows her the freedom to travel independently wherever she wants to go. Can you imagine being a 23-year-old amputee without the ability to experience all around you? These are two noteworthy examples of the support Stefanie has received from this community, but there are more. There have been many who have created GoFundMe pages to support Stefanie. There is her neighbor, Paula McNeil, herself paralyzed from the waist down, who has been supportive and inspirational to Stefanie as she recovers. There's been a contractor that has built a ramp and another that is altering her bathroom so she can actually use it. It's these little things in life we all take for granted that Stefanie, as an amputee, struggles with every day. But this community is a community that cares. It's a community that supports, and it shows its true colors to our neighbors in need. I've personally been incredibly impressed with Stefanie's outlook. She has chosen to recognize the good around her and be thankful for the support she has received from this community. Go figure, after all she has been through, she's chosen to recognize what's good. Her incredible strength has led her to be an inspiration to us all. And talk about giving back, I am proud to announce that Stefanie has agreed to be the spokesperson for the Gift of Life Marathon Blood Drive this year. Stefanie doesn't even know how many pints of blood she received during her recovery. It was numerous. In the spirit of incredible generosity, she has agreed to give back to the community that has supported her. Strength and resiliency are real in Rutland County. And I want to share a video that some fantastic students, Gavin Owens and JJ Plemons from Stafford Tech and their teacher, Christina Kumka, have created for our meeting.
22-year-old Stefanie Schaffer was there with her family. They were on a scenic boat ride when this happened.
Well, if we can borrow her mother's words, hers is a story of resilience.
Stefanie ended up with 2 broken arms, broken ribs, a collapsed lung, a spinal cord injury, and 2 below-the-knee amputations.
Stefanie is a truly extraordinary person. I've personally, in my life, I've made a study of people throughout history, and Stefanie had an extraordinarily bad thing happen to her. And what she did that's so unique is that she chose to be thankful, chose to be grateful. And so she has this incredible attitude in spite of so many things that have challenged her. And it's there every day. And some days are better than others, but she keeps coming back. She keeps coming back smiling and thankful, and to have true, genuine gratitude for somebody that's dealt with so much is truly unique and truly special. And so I think that our entire community has something to gain from just getting a little bit of that and sharing in that.
It's probably been the most emotional roller coaster that I've ever been through, in a good way. It's taught me a lot about the importance of why I became a physical therapist. It's really been brought purpose to my career even more so than it has in the past. It's made me really want to think outside of the box and do everything I can to help her in her recovery, because I just see this amazing person, and I want to do anything that I can for her.
It's always in the back of our heads. I have some ongoing fears that I didn't have in the past, but I think going through something traumatic like that just makes you realize that you have to really enjoy life every day.
It's just a young person about ready to launch into the world and make a difference, and how unfair life can be. So So it was very, very emotional.
We didn't think she was going to make it a couple times. She's a fighter, and now that she's out of the hospital and home, she just seems to be focusing on being an inspiration for everyone else, letting people know that no matter what happens to you in life, you just have to keep moving in a positive direction.
Amazing, inspirational, wise beyond her years. So when you talk to her, it's not like you're talking to a 23-year-old. She's just, she's an extraordinarily wise person. On top of just having a great smile and personality and darn funny.
When I was in the hospital, I was actually nervous to come home. You know, you hear other patients saying it's like the worst part of their recovery is going out into the real world where the world's not made for being handicapped or disabled, and it's terrifying being on your own again. So coming home and, you know, not getting the weird looks or anything like that, you get nothing but support and nothing but help, and any problem, you know, you're gonna have, there's going to be someone out there that's more than willing to help you. So it makes everything way easier than I ever could have imagined.
With everything she's been through, to be so positive and to be willing to share her story and to put things on social media to show others that it's okay to struggle through hard times as long as you're coming out on the best side of it afterward.
We were at one place and her mom was there, and we both realized we walked away to give her a moment, and she can't go anywhere. So she was. So as your mom and I looked at each other, we're like, should we go back? I was like, probably.
I can't walk, so I'm here.
Oh.
Well, first of all, she's adorable. She's a beautiful girl, both inside and out. And I agree with Laura. You know, she's got such great determination, and she's a role model at such a young age.
I would describe Stefanie as a very easy to talk to person. She's a loyal friend. She is fun. She is kind, and she's motivated, and she's fun to be around.
Everybody that gets to meet Stefanie is just like overwhelmed. And so the North Country Chevrolet dealers has been able to facilitate connecting Stefanie with the community and a much larger community than just Rutland here. And it's one of the proudest things all of us have ever done. That the community support for Stefanie just grows unbelievably, and it's really exceeded our wildest expectations. So it's been nothing short of extraordinary.
And I think that's the hardest part in the recovery, is as we try to showcase Stefanie and all of her potential, you don't see all the roller coaster ups and downs of an amputation and what that entails. And we'll have one day where she's walking, taking 3 steps on her own. I'll never forget that day. And, you know, then we're back to crutches, or we have to use a walker for a little bit, or she's in the chair for a little bit just for healing time. But I think all in all, it shows me where she's going to get to, and I know that she will walk. I know that, and it makes me excited.
You know, we're looking at the community, and you know, as the chamber director and as the president of the chamber, we try to pull out the strengths of the community and try to remind people in this community of all the positive things. And it is about being strong and being resilient. And so where we want the community to reflect those 2 characteristics, Stefanie is a perfect example in living that.
I love you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stefanie Schaffer.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Steph.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Before I dive into telling my story, I wanted to use this chance to say a couple of important things to everyone here tonight. First of all, I simply just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone that makes up this amazing community that has been with me every step of my recovery. You were all fighting for me before I was able to fight for myself. At times, I have felt so alone, but you remind me that I am not. So thank you for wearing the Steph Strong blue and reminding me that I can keep fighting, no matter how hard my days get. And the last thing is, I wanted to let everyone know that this year, I will be the ambassador for the upcoming Gift of Life Marathon, which is now so incredibly important to me. I urge everyone to join us and to donate blood, because without the selfless donations of immeasurable pounds of blood, I would not be here today. It's as simple as that. Those donations of blood help to save my life. I will never know who to thank for these donations, but I hope that everyone who donates knows that it is people like me who are thanking you, and that we owe every moment we get to spend in this world to those of you that choose to donate. I'm assuming that you all know what has happened to me, and what else, thank you. I'm assuming you all know what has happened to me, and what I will be talking about here tonight. But in case you don't, I'll give a very quick overview of what happened to my family and I on June 30th of 2018. We had been on a vacation on the island of Exuma in the Bahamas. The first few days of the trip were exactly what we had all imagined. Filled with walks on the beach, swimming in the ocean, drinks by the pool, kayaking and snorkeling, and lots of beautiful weather. It was picture perfect, until I walked onto a boat, ready to head out on a tour of the island. I remember the excitement I felt as the wind and the sun hit my face as the boat started the trip. The next and last thing that I remember was knowing that all of a sudden, I was dying. The boat had exploded right underneath the seat that I had chosen. I was now laying on the floor of the boat, covered by metal that had fallen on top of me, while the rest of the boat had burst into flames. My family, my friends, and some very brave witnesses now jumped in, hard at work, to save my life. Fast forward to a few days later, now back in the United States, and somehow still alive, my family would be told by my surgeons that they had done all that they could do, and I now had a 50% chance of survival. After spending almost a month in a medically induced coma, I would wake up, and then the story somehow starts to get even more challenging. Now I'm sure that every one of us here has at least once in our lives had a time where we were faced with a challenge or a problem, and then said the words, "That's too hard, I can't do that," and honestly thought to themselves that that was the truth. In our minds, the problem was too big, too challenging, and not in our abilities to fix. Every single problem I have been faced with this year has felt that same way. At the beginning, I wasn't solving them, I wasn't adapting to them, and to be honest, I wasn't even facing them. I couldn't, because I had convinced myself that it was all too hard. They were too big of problems, and I certainly couldn't do anything about it. But with a changed mindset, I found that no challenge is too big. I'm not saying that everything is possible. Believe me, if everything were possible, I would have grown back my legs and magically created the cure to paralysis. And maybe even just because everything was possible, I'd travel back in time and keep all of us from ever going on that boat. But I know know that this is all stuff that is truly out of my control and not problems that I can fix, no matter how much I stay positive or change my mindset. What I've seen, though, was that just about all of my other challenges were fixable. I just hadn't been ready. One of my first big challenges was that I had lost so much blood when I got hurt that parts of my kidneys had actually died, which left me a kidney failure. I stayed in kidney failure for months. We checked my numbers often to see if they were improving at all, which meant a constant need for blood work and very large needles being stuck through my back all the way into my kidneys. Mentally and physically, kidney failure was wrecking me. The treatment for kidney failure is dialysis, meaning that I would wake up at 4 a.m., get onto a stretcher, and go down to the basement of the hospital, all alone, for a 5-hour-long treatment. Mentally, I would look around and see these machines that were keeping me alive. And I felt like I was laying in that room, basically just waiting to die. And physically, I would spend the rest of my day and every day in between with my head in a bucket. My body was being destroyed. I dropped down to less than 80 pounds. My feeding tube was put back in, and I was put on 24-hour IV fluids, meaning I was now physically attached to machines that were constantly making loud, alarming noises at me, which seemed to happen more often whenever we tried to sleep. I wasn't recovering. In a lot of ways, I was actually going backwards. Now, this was all going on when I was in the darkest place that I have ever been in. I had become someone I didn't recognize, someone full of hatred and anger and resenting that I had been left to live like this. And finally, I said those words out loud. One day I said, "I wish you had all left me on that boat. I don't want to live like this." I felt like someone had picked up the pieces of me, sewn them together, and then left me to live the rest of my life like that. And I felt so broken that I couldn't picture any life or any future for myself. I heard how that sounded. I heard the finality there is in a sentence like that one. I thought about what that would have meant for my family if I had been left on that boat. In that moment, I chose to let go of it all. I began to let go of the anger, and I chose to live. I changed my mindset. After that one change, I was finally able to laugh again. I smiled for the first time in a very long time. I spent more of my nights now talking and laughing with my family, and pretty soon we began using every food delivery app we could find so that I could get rid of that feeding tube. I started saying more thank yous and I love yous. I started looking for solutions, and I got better. Not only did I get better, but all of a sudden, my numbers that hadn't budged one bit for months were now jumping up. And within just a few short days, I was officially out of kidney failure. My doctors hadn't expected it, and they certainly couldn't explain it. I can't say that changing my mindset is for sure what made this all happen, but I'm going by what I know here. What I know is that I had been depressed, not looking for answers, and not even really wanting them. So I didn't get any. Then I became happier, actually wanting to live. And then I was given the chance to do just that. It was as if my body had been waiting for me to get my head back on straight, waiting for me to actually have the desire to survive this until it was going to start healing for me. I wish I could say it all been easy after that, but it wouldn't be as interesting of a story if it had. What did happen, though, was that I was now medically cleared to go into an intensive rehabilitation program. I showed up as excited as I ever remember being. I had heard of this amazing doctor there and was convinced he was going to be my savior and solution to all of my problems. I thought he'd fix me, and that maybe the hardest part was finally over. I only wish that had been true. But my first day there, I met him. He looked at me and he said, "I don't know if you'll ever walk again." I realized that being a patient with the collection of injuries that I have was sort of like being a rare collectible item. Apparently there aren't too many of us out there with bilateral leg amputations, a spinal cord injury, and a brain injury. I held it together while he was in my room talking to me, but I burst into tears as soon as he left. Here I was again, facing another problem that felt too big. I cried myself to sleep that night. But then I woke up, and I took everybody by surprise. And I looked at them and I said, they said I wouldn't survive, and I did. They said I wouldn't get out of kidney failure, and I did. They say I won't walk. Watch me. Woo! Maybe there wasn't other people with the same injuries as me that were out there walking, but why couldn't I be the first? I'm sure we'd all rather stay in our comfort zones, right? I mean, I know that I did. But let's not forget, I was also a young woman in her 20s who still worried about things like how cool I was and what my hair looked like. Now, I was a young woman in her 20s with both legs missing and who now had a bald spot on the back of her head. Thank you, kidney failure, for that one. So saying I was out of my comfort zone was a bit of an understatement. Everything that I was doing now was a first. The first time getting dressed without being able to stand up. The first time getting out of bed with no feet to put on the ground. I mean, really, try to think of something you've done today without needing to stand up. It's probably a pretty short list. On top of that, I was learning things like how to write again, how to hold a pen, how to find the left side of every room that my brain was trying to convince me wasn't there. I was learning how to manage the effects of a brain injury. Everything was challenging. But what I saw was that all this time that I was spending outside of my comfort zone, I was growing. All the small accomplishments of each task that I'd been embarrassed to try were now all adding up, and I was seeing big changes. In fact, it was now finally time for the day that I'd been waiting for. I knew that my first pair of legs weren't going to be great. When you combine the effects of a spinal cord injury with the amount of time I'd spent both in a coma, bedridden, and in a wheelchair, we knew that I was going to be weak. So I wasn't ready to get right into the typical pair of baloney prosthetics that others might have right away. But I didn't care. No longer worrying about things like how cool I was, if my bald spot was showing, or even how terrified I was in that moment. I went down in front of that huge crowd that had gathered, and I strapped those legs on. Now these legs were giant. They were black with straps going all the way up to my hips. Metal hinges by my knees to lock and unlock them, and several pieces needed to put them together. I got them on, and they wheeled me over to a set of parallel bars. And then they brought down a harness that was hooked to the ceiling and put that on me too. With everything combined, I was now in equipment from my new feet all the way up to my chest. As they pulled me up with that harness, and I held onto those bars for dear life, I stood up for the very first time. I stood there, and it was so difficult, but I was so proud of myself. A thought popped into my head. It was, we didn't know if I'd even get to be here today. Everything that I had said was too hard, but worked through to figure out, all came together in that moment. And I got to soak in a feeling of pride and happiness that was so big, I didn't even know was possible. If I had given up at any one of those times when I had said, I can't do this, this is too hard. If I had given up, I never would have experienced that. When I say it was hard just to stand there, I'm not kidding. And much quicker than I would have liked, I was on my way back up to my hospital room. I started the long process of removing those legs, and one by one, the crowd started to leave. I had set my legs up against the wall before getting back into bed. But then I looked at them. I looked over and I saw those big straps, and I saw the metal hinges, and the feet that were chalky white and looked like pieces of concrete. The only way it even resembled a foot were with some faint lines drawing the shapes of toes. Then I laid there and I thought about how impossibly difficult just standing there with all of that equipment helping me had felt. How I had only stood there for a few short minutes, and I was now exhausted. The fact that this was my new reality hit me all at once. The happiness I had felt just minutes ago was gone, and when my parents came back into my room, I was laying there, tears streaming down my face. I found myself saying the words that had become all too familiar. This is too hard. I don't think I can do this. With time, a lot of hard work, and actual blood, sweat, and tears, the prosthetic legs have gotten smaller. The Velcro braces have been removed. The hinges are gone, and even the feet have gotten much cuter. Before, I thought I couldn't manage this. Today, I know that I can. I saw this quote a while ago from another woman who was dealing with life-changing medical issues. What she said was, "It's okay for your own story to break your heart. Just don't let it end there." I grieved the loss of my legs just like I would have for any other loss. I had to let go of each part of it that broke my heart in order for me to move on. I cried that I would no longer be able to paint my toes. I cried about never being able to put lotion on my legs again. I cried for an extra long time about knowing I would never be able to feel the sand between my toes again. I would lie there and try to imagine what I remembered it feeling like, digging my feet in the sand. I tried to remember what it was like, slipping on a pair of new shoes that fit just right. I let each part of it break my heart, so that when I was done, I could pick up the pieces and move back on. Now today, I paint the toes of each new set of feet. I enjoy the smell of the ocean instead of the feel of the sand in my toes. And I still buy cute shoes, even if it takes a whole lot of effort and lots of time spent with a shoehorn to get them on those feet. I let my story break my heart, but I have not let my story end there. I have spent more time outside of my comfort zone than I have spent in it. I've had to be creative with how I get things done, and to learn not to worry about what people are thinking when they see me trying things new ways. I had to learn not to be afraid to fail. I literally learned how to fall down and pick myself back up, since I've fallen to my face multiple times now. I have grown more in this past year than I did in my first 22 years of life as someone who was able-bodied. As someone who would now be in the disabled category, I have felt more alive. At times I feel more accomplished and know not only what I want out of life, but what is important. Finding out what true hardship and true challenge feels like, I now feel prepared for just about anything. Now, if someone had known what was going to happen to me on that day in June, and if they had told me, I would have told them that they were crazy. I would have told them that I was not a strong enough person to put up a fight for my life and actually win that fight. If I had known how many surgeries, how many procedures, how much physical and emotional pain I was going to feel in this next year, I would not have imagined the person that I have seen myself become. I would have pictured someone who was defeated and who had given up. I think we all tend to underestimate ourselves, and until we jump into a challenge with everything that we have and with all the support that we can find, we will never know what we are truly capable of. I might not be walking unassisted yet, have done is, I've gotten through more than 30 surgeries while keeping a smile on my face. I have stood on my own brand new feet. I have walked with crutches. I have learned to bike with my hands and to swim with no feet. I have kayaked and traveled. I have met new people, cheered my sister on, laughed with my family, and had glasses of wine with my friends. I haven't just survived. I'm learning how to really live. And the best part is, I'm just getting started. The very best thing I ever did for myself was change my mindset to one of believing that I can figure out any problem. Something we should all do for ourselves is this one thing. Instead of having your first thoughts go to, what will it feel like if I fail? Have them instead go to, what will it feel like when I succeed? Make that one change and watch what follows. Thank you.